Tuned into Sabahul Muslims on Radio Islam International.
We cross over to Turkey now. Joining us on the line, we have Aylin Kocaman, who is a host on Building Bridges, as well as a columnist for a variety of publications and a Middle East analyst. Aylin, thank you so much for your time. Much appreciated. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning and welcome.
Alaikum salam. Thank you for having me.
Now, Vladimir Putin's visit to Turkey, what prompted that visit? What was the main reason for that visit?
There were so many reasons. I'm sure there were so many things were discussed. You know, we have made new agreements. It has decided that the trade volume with Russia will increase up to $100 billion by 2020. That is a target. The South Stream pipeline was cancelled, you know, and this would carry natural gas from Russia to Bulgaria. But it was cancelled, and the second Blue Stream pipeline is replaced, which will carry gas from Russia to Turkey. You know, we already have a Blue Stream with Russia. This will be the second, and the gas coming from Russia will be exported to Europe from Turkey. And Russia is building Turkey's first nuclear power station in Akkuyu, expected to start operations in 2023. Also, around 4.5 million Russian tourists visit Turkey every year, so I'm sure this has been discussed too. But I'm sure beyond all this, Mr. Erdogan gave some guarantee to Putin to relieve him during this very tense period. I'm sure he openly stressed that Turkey is his friend and ally all the time, and he must have said that we will never leave him and Russia alone. I'm sure he said all about that, because whenever the two leaders meet, they always give messages of friendship and unity, and this is such a great thing.
Now, what makes Turkey such a lucrative partner for Russia? Why would Russia want to be in partnership with Turkey? Is it simply because they've been alienated over the Ukraine situation by many Western powers, or is it more than that?
No, actually, Russia has always been our friend. Since the time of the Ottomans, this friendship didn't necessarily based on the interests all the time. At the time of crisis, we have been friends as well. Putin's coming to Turkey is significant in many aspects, of course, but actually it was an ordinary visit paid in extraordinary time. That was why it has taken so much attention, I guess. You know, we have so many strict relations with Russia, and we have close connections. Our ministers are seeing each other so often, so actually there's nothing extraordinary in Putin's visit. But the timing, of course, was important. After the Ukrainian conflict, you're aware of the general attitude of the European Union and the United States. They keep applying sanctions. In my opinion, Putin is not all to blame on this issue. West has made so many mistakes on that. I'd better add this here. The tension was so high, and Putin was kind of taking his revenge during this visit, saying that he's cutting off the gas to Europe. But his connection with Turkey and his trade agreement with Turkey was not something new.
How was Putin's visit to Turkey greeted in Turkey? We understand that there were many Crimean Tatars who were protesting in Istanbul and in Ankara.
Yes, actually Tatars in Crimea are separated into two. One is on the side of Ukraine, and the others are on the side of Russia. Tatars in Turkey are generally the ones who are on the side of Ukraine, that means on the side of European Union. That's why they protested. They protested. They have right to protest. Of course, they can protest. This is a democratic country. But we are having so many reports from our Turkish brothers and sisters out there from Crimea, and it seems that many things have changed in Crimea in a positive way after the Russian annexation. First of all, Putin announced that Islamic religious aids will be official holidays in Crimea. This is such a good news. And he promised to reserve extra $250 million for the Tatars who have been suffered during the time of Stalin. And although the population of Tatars is only 50% or so of the Crimean total population, Putin assigned young Tatar Ruslan Balbek as vice president of Crimea. And also he ordered speeding up the construction of the mosques. He also promised to give the deeds that have not been given by Ukraine for 18 years. So these are good developments. Actually, I am so optimistic about Putin's new rule in Crimea personally, because Putin is so respectful towards Islam and Muslims and does not want to do anything wrong to the Turkish people. But I understand our brothers and sisters' concern, of course, because they have been suffered a lot before. They have been killed, tortured, exiled by Stalin. These were very tough days. So under the effect of the old days, some of them do not want to be under the Russian rule again. That's apprehensible, but Putin's rule might be totally different, and I hope it will be different.
Now, how will this affect the relationship between the Turkey and US, this visit of Putin, and this growing of the friendship between Ankara and Moscow?
Actually, it's growing, but there has always been a friendship between Ankara and Moscow. And United States is our ally, and Russia is also our ally. It has always like that, even at the time of the Cold War. So, as you may notice, especially during the AK Party regime, Turkey started to act more independently. It does not want to ruin the relationships with other big countries, but at the same time, it decides on its own on the issue of Egypt, issue of Syria and Iraq, on the issue of ISIS, for example, or PKK. It acts according to his decisions. But most important of all, we as Turkey cannot be on one side. We should be non-partisan. We should be the balanced country. We should embrace all nations. Turkey has a great responsibility about that, because there are so many points that are unique for Turkey. It's a NATO country, but at the same time, the NATO country in the Middle East, the only NATO country in the Middle East, only NATO country which is Muslim, only democratic Muslim country in the Middle East. It's a bridge between Balkans, Europe, Africa, Caucasus, and Middle East, and it has an obligation to protect all nations, since all of them in this region were our part only a century ago. We should be the bridge between East and West. So if we turn our back to Russia, there would be a disaster. If we turn our back to US, there would be bigger disaster. So we are the ones who need to protect the balance. I think Davutoğlu is trying to do that, and I'm sure he'll be successful about that, inshallah.
Now, the issue of Erdogan, he's no longer prime minister, he's now president, but he seems to be very visible as compared to Abdullah Gül. When he was prime minister, if Putin had to visit then, he would be meeting Erdogan, the prime minister, and there would be more prominence around that as compared to Abdullah Gül, the president. But this time around, it seems that the power still rests with Erdogan and not the newly appointed prime minister.
Erdogan has said that before that. He said that when I become a president, I will be more active. So he's doing that. He's more in the country's issues. That's a good thing. But I think Davutoğlu is a very calm person, also doing so many good things. He has so many big, beautiful targets, and he's doing such a great thing. So I understand Erdogan's concern, because he created a new Turkey, literally. He doesn't want to ruin everything. He doesn't want to see anything to ruin in this country. But he also trusts Davutoğlu, and he wants to be in all the issues at the same time, but he's also trusting Davutoğlu. So I'm thinking that they are together ruling this country right now.
Finally, Aylin, in terms of gas supply, in the long run, would Ankara also like to move away from dependence on Russia and tap into new gas flowing from Azerbaijan?
No, it shouldn't. It won't. It shouldn't. Our connections with Russia should go on, and will certainly go on. Russia has always been our partner, and it should stay the same. Besides, we already have an agreement with Azerbaijan, and TANAP project is going perfectly well. So our connection with Azerbaijan will not and should not affect our connection with Russia. But I must say this, especially the Islamic leader and writer Adnan Oktar says this. I'm also his representative. He always said that there's an isolation policy towards Russia. After Ukraine conflict, we actually saw it clearly, but actually this was put into practice so long ago. After the re-election, Putin, he clearly stated that he wants to be closer to Europe and West in general, but his wishes were ignored. So there is a kind of isolation policy by the West. There is a kind of policy started, a kind of Russian allies capturing operation. It started with the Latvia and Lithuania joining to the European Union. But Ukraine was the breaking point because it's the junction point of all the trade corridors. So they left Russia so alone. That was not right. It could have solved in a very friendly way. While starting trading with Ukraine, Europe could give guarantee to Russia as well by saying that Ukraine will continue to make its trade with you, consult you, it will stay as your friend. That would certainly relieve Russia. It could have happened at the beginning of the Syrian crisis as well. Mr. Oktar talked about this all the time. If the Western countries gave Russia a guarantee about Assad's security, about Syria staying as Russia's friend, and about Russian military base in Syria in Mediterranean, the situation would not be like that right now. But they literally didn't care about Russia's wishes, so Russia's reaction was not so nice.
All right, Aylin, thank you so much for your time this morning. Much appreciated.
Thank you very much for having me.
That was Aylin Kocaman, a host on Building Bridges, as well as a columnist for a variety of publications and a Middle East analyst, talking to us live from Turkey this morning with regards